Our next session, Hot Data, Cool Solutions, the AI Energy Dilemma. Please welcome to the stage Holly Paper, President, Commercial HVAC Train Technologies, and Josh Parker, Head of Sustainability, NVIDIA.
Okay, good morning. It looks like an interesting set of speakers this morning talking about some of the macro issues and how to solve that. We're taking a little bit of a different pivot now and talking more about industry and specifically about sustainability and innovation and the paradox of data center AI. So I'm Holly Paper. I am the president of our commercial business at Train Technologies, which includes everything that's not a house, essentially. Commercial buildings, data centers, and industry in general. And I'm joined here by my friend Josh. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Head of Sustainability at NVIDIA, a small startup that focuses on AI.
Perfect. One of the things that we've been talking about and that we're exploring here is really the paradox of data center AI. On one hand, there's an immense possibility around innovation, whether it's climate modeling, whether it is healthcare, benefits potentially to business. It's immense, it's inspiring in terms of all the things that AI can do for us. On the other hand, the very infrastructure of these AI data centers use scarce resources like power and water. And so, what we wanted to do is really explore the relationship between AI and all the things it can do for us, and how we make sure that's not at the expense of the planet. So I think we'll start there. Josh, maybe if you can talk a little bit about how you're thinking about the dual imperative of AI and AI data centers.
Sure. So it's a really fun topic. It's a fun time to be alive right now in the AI revolution, but I feel like I've got one of the easiest jobs in the world as well, talking about sustainability, because I really think for the first time in a long time, those of us who are interested in long-term sustainability have more cause for optimism than we've had in the past, because AI really can be, and I think will be, if we use it properly, a fantastic solution to some of the biggest challenges that we've had in sustainability. And you see that in terms of the innovation that really is driving the frontier of AI is one that leads to more efficiency. That's how we're unlocking the next performance in AI, is not only providing more performance per watt of energy, but it's also more performance per liter of water. It's more performance per ton of steel, more performance per chip, and across every metric that you think of, more performance per kilogram of carbon emitted. So everything is becoming denser, it's becoming more performant, it's becoming more efficient. And that's just on the footprint side. And then, of course, you have all of the applications of AI for good, AI for the environment, AI for efficiency in other sectors, AI for nuclear energy, for fusion, for carbon capture and storage, so many applications that we see AI being used for good as well. So it's really helping us reduce its own footprint, deliver more performance, and also provide sustainability in other sectors as well.
Good. I mean, we see something similar in terms of our business. And if I bring it to a really pragmatic space, I think in the challenge side, we're seeing density of chips increasing because of the innovation of NVIDIA and others in terms of the data centers themselves. And being a company and an organization that thinks a lot about thermal infrastructure and mechanical systems, we're seeing an advanced cooling solution innovation movement in terms of solving some of these problems, liquid cooling and other things. So while we've been working in the data center space for many years now, the level of problems to solve are changing and evolving. And I think we're seeing a lot of innovation happening there, both in terms of how to help organizations within the four walls of a data center, but also even things like taking innovation that we've been using in the commercial building space for a while, in data centers like thermal battery storage, and how that can help with peak shaving in terms of helping a data center be more flexible in terms of the relationship with the grid. So we see the challenges side and helping our customers solve those challenges. But on the other side of it, we also see tremendous benefits. And for instance, we have solutions that we wouldn't have without technology like this. We've got one, BrainBox AI, which is essentially something that sits on top of control systems in a commercial building. And what we're able to do with that technology accelerates dramatically what we could do before. So for instance, even in a traditional commercial building or a commercial set of buildings, I think about Dollar Tree, which is a retail like establishment. 2,600 stores use these AI solutions, and just by putting the solution on top of the structure that they've already got, it reduces the energy used in their buildings by 40%. And so, it's one of those pieces where it's easier for us to see the applications of all of the things we can do and what technology is enabling that before was reliant only on people. Now we bring technology and people together to solve things. And so I think this dual imperative is something that we see very clearly on both sides of the coin with our customers as well.
I think that's one of the real reasons that we have for optimism. If you think of the building sector and the amount of energy that it uses, I think the IEA said it's about 30% between commercial and residential of total electricity use. And if we're able to save 40% of that huge proportion of global electricity use, that's really significant savings. It really dwarfs the actual current footprint of data centers. So it's a really good return on investment to use AI for that. And we've seen similar things in other sectors like manufacturing. We've got a manufacturing partner who, because they're using a digital twin and optimizing their manufacturing with AI on the front end, they're projecting a 30% reduction in energy consumption over the life of a manufacturing facility as well. So, and that's, I think the IEA said, is about 37% of global electricity use. So between those two sectors,
Exactly.
we're talking 67% of global electricity use. And if you can reduce that by 30 to 40%, you free up so much energy for other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely, and it's what we see as a huge opportunity and a lot of creativity around collaboration of stakeholders that maybe weren't collaborating before. And so, curious what NVIDIA is seeing and thinking in that space, and I'll certainly share some of our examples too.
Yeah, NVIDIA is, it's fun to be a part of it right now because we are just trying to enable the ecosystem generally. So we've got a lot of partners. Of course, we work with the big hyperscalers and the big colos and everybody, but we provide solutions and help invest in startups. We have, last count, I think it was over 30,000 companies in our startup incubator for AI, and a lot of those are actually focused on sustainable solutions. We have a program called Sustainable Futures where we try to enable startups who are focusing on sustainable solutions through AI. And it's really been exciting to see how many companies feel empowered and enabled by AI because it's such a fundamentally democratizing technology. So you're not a coder, not a problem. You can come and we've got solutions that help you write code, to develop your apps or to develop the other software that you need for your program. So people who have had a passion to do something to make an impact in the world have a lot more tools, a lot more powerful tools at their disposal now. So we see, and NVIDIA, we're not too big to collaborate with anybody. We love all of the solutions, and so we've developed a lot of resources to try to enable small, medium, large investments in AI with partners across the spectrum.
Very good. It's, you mentioned before a stat around the energy that buildings use and commercial buildings in general, buildings like this, using a lot of electricity and wasting about a third of that. And so one of the areas that we find in terms of collaboration is really working with all types of customers around not only driving efficiency within the four walls of the building, but also how do you net as a community win? And so we working with data center companies and AI data center companies around taking some of the waste heat generated by a data center, instead of thinking about that as waste, using that and thinking about it as a resource that can serve the community. We've got countless examples of places where waste heat or wasted energy from a data center can be used to warm schools or nurseries or government buildings or high-rise residential buildings. We've got examples we're working with customers on desalination and using that heat in different ways. So we really see this ecosystem and collaboration piece as something that can take us from each individual building owner, data center operator, from being an isolated energy user to being an active contributor to the community. And so there's so much that we're seeing in terms of this energy circularity idea and what that might look like as we band together to solve some of these problems in a bigger way. I mean, there's no question that building owners play a big role in this, and as we get more organized, and we see more and more collaboration and partnership, the opportunity to solve these problems is like none ever before, which is we see as a really exciting thing.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's one of the wonderful things if you think about the future of data centers and how they can be more sustainable. The densification of the compute leads to some really positive benefits, like you were mentioning. I mean, heat management is one of the big challenges of data centers, but as you bring that heat into a smaller and smaller, tighter and tighter package, it makes it more valuable because it's easier to reuse it, to use it for things like district heating and find ways, because a significant proportion of the energy going into a data center gets converted to that heat. So if there are ways to use it to heat the swimming pools or the apartment buildings nearby or anything, then there's huge advantages, double advantages to using that energy both ways.
Yeah, it is interesting. We're seeing, even in the US, a lot of communities and cities that traditionally have had public-private partnerships around economic development or creating jobs, expanding the scope of those discussions to include the infrastructure and trying to make sure that the community at large is taking into some of these considerations. So really inspiring to see that kind of collaboration, and I think it's very clear that we're entering a time where we need everybody to be the best stewards of the energy that they're using, and thinking about it, maybe zooming out beyond kind of the four walls of any individual building and how we all collaborate together to solve. You mentioned something else about the democratization of intelligence and AI and how it's helping people. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's if you think about kind of technological revolutions over the human history, there are a couple features of AI that stand out as being a little unique. One, of course, is the pace, and it's just been so rapid. But another is the fact that it is broadly available. If you think of the power that you have in your pocket, if you have one of these chatbots installed, and chatbots, of course, are just one flavor of AI. It's being used, small language models, machine learning, lots of kind of commercial applications that are having huge impacts behind the scenes. But the kind of retail application that most of us see really is significantly empowering for things like education. I've got kids who use it to supplement their education, of course, not to cheat on any exams, but if they don't understand a concept in school, they've got resources that help them. And again, if you're an entrepreneur, you have an idea that you want to explore, if you want to brainstorm with an AI, or if you want to actually start writing code to support it, or find organizations that might be able to partner with you, AI can help you do that without any skills, without a lot of investment, because it's, for most of us, a free app or a very low-cost app that can enable, basically, arm you with more intelligence than you had before. So it's just an empowering technology, and I think it will end up having very significant impacts in the global south as well as in developed countries because of that democratizing feature.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were sharing some stories backstage here about kids and families, and something you just said triggered that. I mean, we found the best homework helpers from AI ever, right? And as parents, as we all know, that certainly helps. We're seeing the AI as an accelerator and a place to help augment where we also see scarce resources. So I'll give you an example. I mean, we have many thousands of service technicians, HVAC service technicians, right? So a skilled trade. And it's estimated that over the next few years, there's going to be a 20 times demand versus supply there, right? So the gap is getting bigger and bigger in terms of the trades. And we've been for years now using some level of AI to help augment our service technicians. So that, for instance, so they don't have to take so much time writing their reports, and they can be using their time in more valuable ways. We've now been able to take that a step further, even and around really having agents to help our technicians around when they show up to a job site, making sure that they have all the data they need. They don't have to waste time with some of the tedium that they might have had to do in the past. And as a result, we're able to use those resources in a more effective way. even with our AI control systems, our BrainBox AI control systems, in the past, you put a thermal system in place, and over time it would degrade, right, in terms of efficiency, without having manual intervention. And so our service technicians would play that role. But now you've got technology that is allowing, a way to optimize the performance in a way that our technicians alone could never do, because it's looking at weather patterns and meter data and occupant load, meaning the number of people in the building. And so we're finding these solutions are adding value in ways that we didn't expect. And then you augment that by your scarce resources, right? So we get to use our scarce resources in ways that we wouldn't be able to use otherwise, because they'd be busy doing other things. So there's certainly a piece around AI as an accelerator and this people plus technology idea that is helping us really figure out how to help more building owners, help waste less energy, and accelerate kind of solutions. I think the other thing that we talk a lot about is just how we reskill and upskill kind of the teams, and using technology, but also helping our teams understand how to lean in and where technology helps them to go faster and to go further in terms of what they're able to do.
Yeah, and that actually is, it's a valid topic of conversation. How is AI going to disrupt the workforce? We are seeing it alter the workforce and the demands in the marketplace. But this is another feature of kind of the democratization of AI, is that anybody who wants to try to prepare to upskill, to reskill for the AI revolution, there are lots of tools that make it a lot easier to do that than in previous technological revolutions. If you want to learn more about AI, there are lots of ways to do that. You can, again, pull out your smartphone or pull out a computer and start researching with AI itself. We've got a lot of programs at NVIDIA trying to help people upskill as well. We've got a deep learning institute. We offer a lot of courses for free, and we've got partnerships with several states like Utah, California, Oregon, Mississippi, where we provide resources to schools, and we've got partnerships with universities as well. So it's in all of our interest to try to facilitate the upskilling that's required, so that we have as little of a shock as possible. And it is really feasible, because it's a skill that we can all learn. It's available for most people. So if we're thoughtful about it, I think we can manage the transition.
Very good. So coming full circle on the topic here around sustainability and innovation, this idea of data center of the future is something that we've been talking and thinking a lot about. From our lens, we're seeing a lot of customers that are trying to build AI data centers start to think about it as a manufactured data center, meaning the scale is happening so quickly, optimizing the solution, getting it right, and then scaling it. And the beauty of what we're seeing is, if you have more time to work on kind of what the core solution is, and making it easier to scale, it means you can really optimize. You can get everything perfectly right, while you're trying to go fast and build lots of things. And so I think this idea of efficiency and driving efficiency in terms of data centers and innovation there's a tremendous opportunity, and actually this moment in time serves us if we do this right in terms of collaboration, in terms of innovation, because the behavior and the speed to deployment can actually be really beneficial, because it gives you the option to not have to design every single one the same way. I mean, sure, there's different climate, and there's different inputs, and there's different solutions that come into that, and we have a whole business right around doing that. But there's something also around being able to optimize the perfect scenario and then scaling. And so I'm curious from your standpoint, how you're thinking about data center in the future, and what you see coming ahead.
Yeah, I think because this rollout is happening very rapidly, we do have time to optimize it and to think thoughtfully about it. But it's a net new build in a lot of cases for these AI data centers, because they're different from traditional data centers. We're going to see a proliferation of different kinds. So some of them will be the large things that you think about, huge buildings with huge energy requirements and everything. But the nice thing is, we can be very thoughtful about how we build them, where we build them. AI doesn't care where it goes to school. It can be located where there is excess energy. It can be built. One of our partners, Eco Data Center in Europe, they're building data centers out of timber. and reusing the heat for district heating, heating the local communities and running them entirely off of renewable energy. There are lots of things you can do. You can have smaller data centers that are benefits to local communities, larger data centers outside. I think we're going to continue to see a lot of innovation because most of us are really committed to doing the right thing, to making sure that data centers are sustainable. And so we'll figure it out over the next few years, and I think we'll see a lot of innovation that's really exciting to make sure that the data centers are ultimately sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, so really great stuff. I know we're nearing the end of our time here. I guess just in final thoughts, what I would say is that it's really inspiring in terms of seeing the kind of collaboration, whether it's tech company collaboration, whether it's industry collaboration, or even community collaboration to solve these problems. And it's like no other time before in terms of what we've seen and the willingness to band together to solve big problems. So appreciate the time here today, and appreciate the audiences here as well. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Holly.